Today I'm sharing 5 easy steps to get started on pelvic floor exercises during pregnancy, and make sure you do it right. If you're pregnant and new to my channel, make sure you subscribe and press the bell button below so you don't miss any of my pelvic floor tips for an empowering birth and postpartum recovery. Doing pelvic floor exercises during pregnancy is a great way to be proactive about your pelvic health and avoid bladder leaks through your maternity journey, as well as recover faster after birth. So how about we start with learning the basics of pelvic floor exercises and how to do them properly. So our first step is going to be visualizing our pelvic floor, just so you can better connect with this area of your body. I know that for myself, before taking my pelvic floor education courses, I had no idea that we had those muscles down there, so I expect I'm not the only one, right? So for reference, the pelvic floor is a hammock of muscles that goes from your pubic bone to your tailbone. Now I want you to put your hands under your bum and wiggle a little bit, and you will feel your sits bones rolling over your hands here. So your pelvic floor also connects to these sits bones from right to left. Now imagining your pelvic floor as a hammock attached to these 4 different bones. And also imagining that they're going around your anus, vagina, and urethra. They are literally the floor of your pelvis, which is why we call it the pelvic floor. Makes sense, right? Okay, so now that we've visualized our pelvic floor, step number 2 is to feel our pelvic floor. One of my favorite ways to get my clients to feel their pelvic floor contracting and releasing is to straddle a rolled towel in a sitting position. The towel puts pressure on your pelvic floor so you can better sense the activation and relaxation. Now contract your pelvic floor, so thinking of picking up a berry with your vagina or your anus, one or the other, doesn't really matter, and lifting it up into your pelvis. So it's not only a squeeze, but it's also a lift of those muscles. And you should feel a difference of pressure on the towel. Now to release your pelvic floor, let go of the berry and bring it back down, releasing the tensions around the vagina and anus. You should feel your pelvic floor coming back down on the towel, and the pressure should feel different than when you're contracting. Step number 3 is look. So to get even more feedback and confirm that you're doing this right, you can use a mirror or your phone in selfie mode, whatever works for you, and look at your vulva when you're doing this exercise. So when you contract your pelvic floor and lift the berry up, you should see the perineum, which is the area between the vagina and the anus, going inward or inside your pelvis. And when you release, the perineum should come back down toward the mirror or your phone. Another thing you may notice is that your clitoris will be moving both when you squeeze and release. Step number 4 is palpate. The most reliable way to test your pelvic floor is to insert 1 or 2 fingers in your vagina and feel the muscles contracting and releasing around them. They don't need to be inserted too deep. I would say 2 inches is plenty. So when you contract your pelvic floor, you should feel your fingers being squeezed and lifted into your pelvis. And when you let go, you should feel the pelvic floor releasing your fingers and allowing them to come back down. Always make sure you check with your medical provider before performing any internal techniques during pregnancy. And step number 5 is refine. So once you get a good feel for your pelvic floor, try to refine your technique. What I mean by that is make sure that you don't squeeze your thighs or your butt muscles when you're engaging your pelvic floor. It should really be just the muscles around the vagina and anus contracting. You also want to keep breathing normally, so no breath holding allowed here. Okay, a good way to think about this is if you were sitting in a meeting with a bunch of people, no one should know, looking at you, that you're doing pelvic floor exercises. It should all be happening inside your pelvis. Now, if you're still confused after following these 5 steps, consult with a pelvic health physiotherapist to get more insight. Otherwise, if you got the basics under control, you are ready to move forward with your pelvic floor exercise routine shown in this video. If you want more tips to prepare your pelvic floor for an empowering, positive birth experience, make sure you grab my free prenatal pelvic floor book in the description below. Thanks for watching.